If you're tired of hauling compost from one end of your garden to the other, there's a better way, and it starts right under your feet. What if every garden bed you planted could make its own compost continuously, without bins, piles, or waiting? It's not fantasy. It's regenerative gardening at its finest. Today, we're diving deep into how to turn every bed into a self-sustaining compost factory, one that feeds plants, improves soil structure, and reduces work all at once. This method is ancient in principle, but cutting-edge in results. And once you start, you'll never go back to static compost heaps again. The key to turning your beds into compost machines is understanding living soil. A living compost bed isn't just a raised structure filled with dirt. It's a thriving ecosystem. Beneath the surface of every healthy bed lies an invisible workforce of bacteria, fungi, and worms, constantly breaking down organic matter into plant-ready nutrients. When you supply them with the right balance of carbon and nitrogen, known as browns and greens, they transform waste into fertility faster than any compost pile. The goal is simple: feed the soil where plants grow, not somewhere else. Traditional composting removes nutrients from the garden bed and forces you to reapply them later. A living compost bed skips that entire loop. Instead of building a separate pile, you integrate composting directly into the planting zone. The result? Nutrients stay where roots can immediately absorb them. Microbial life stays active year-round, and your soil only gets better with age. Start by layering organic matter directly into the bed. Creating a living compost bed begins with structure. Start by loosening your existing soil about a spade deep. Then begin layering materials in the same way you would build a compost pile, but thinner and more integrated. A simple ratio that works beautifully is 1 part green material to 2 parts brown. Greens include kitchen scraps, fresh grass clippings or manure, while browns include dried leaves, straw, sawdust, or shredded cardboard. Here's how to do it step by step. Lay down a thin layer, about 2 inches, of browns to create air pockets and prevent compaction. Follow with a 1-inch layer of greens to provide nitrogen, which fuels decomposition. Add a sprinkle of garden soil or finished compost on top to introduce microbes. Then repeat the layering until you reach the top of the bed. Water each layer lightly to help microbes move in, but don't soak it. Once this is done, you can either leave the bed to rest for a few weeks or plant directly into it using transplants. Direct sowing works best after about 2 weeks, when the initial heat from decomposition has subsided. Feeding the system over time keeps it alive and working. The real beauty of a living compost bed is that it never stops evolving. As your plants grow, you continuously feed the system small doses of organic matter. Every time you harvest, trim or weed, just drop that material right back onto the soil as mulch. The worms and microorganisms will pull it down naturally. For ongoing maintenance, aim for a monthly feeding rhythm. Add a light scattering of nitrogen-rich greens, such as grass clippings or kitchen waste, followed by a thicker blanket of browns like straw or shredded leaves. The surface layer acts as both mulch and compost input, keeping the soil cool and moist while preventing weeds. Over time, you'll notice that you need less and less fertilizer. That's because the bed itself becomes a nutrient engine. Decomposition never stops, and each layer of decaying matter stores carbon while releasing minerals back into the soil food web. How to balance decomposition with root health. One of the most common mistakes gardeners make when starting living compost beds is overloading them with too much nitrogen-rich material at once. This creates heat and can harm delicate roots. The solution is simple: moderation and layering. Always maintain that 2-to-1 brown to green ratio and avoid burying large chunks of fresh organic matter right next to plant roots. If you're working with existing crops, side dressing is your best technique. Dig shallow trenches or furrows between rows, fill them with a small amount of organic matter and cover lightly with soil. This allows decomposition to happen near the root zone, but not directly in it. The process mimics natural forest soil dynamics, where nutrients constantly migrate from decomposing litter into the root layer. For perennial beds, like herbs or fruiting shrubs, use the trench composting method. Simply dig narrow vertical pockets along the drip line of the plants and fill them with alternating layers of kitchen scraps and dry leaves. Over time, these micro-compost pockets feed the surrounding soil with steady nutrients and improve its structure dramatically. The microbial engine is what drives the whole system. No compost bed functions without life. The real builders of fertility are the soil microbes, fungi and earthworms that turn dead matter into humus. To encourage them, avoid synthetic fertilizers or chemical pesticides. They disrupt microbial balance. Instead, focus on moisture, organic inputs and aeration. If your soil is compacted, use a garden fork to gently loosen it once or twice a year without turning it over. This preserves fungal networks that transfer nutrients between roots. You can also boost decomposition speed by adding microbial inoculants like compost tea or worm leachate. These introduce living bacteria and fungi directly into the bed, kickstarting the breakdown process. As decomposition continues, you'll start to notice a rich, earthy smell, an unmistakable sign of active, healthy soil. Within a season, your bed will have transformed into a dark, crumbly structure filled with worm tunnels and mycelial threads. That's when you know you've succeeded. Your bed isn't just soil anymore. It's a living compost ecosystem. Once you master one living compost bed, replicate it everywhere. Each bed becomes its own composting unit, reducing external waste and saving time. Garden trimmings feed the beds, which feed the plants, which produce more organic matter to return to the soil. It's a complete nutrient cycle contained within your own garden. Even container gardeners can use this system. By burying organic matter under the mulch layer in large pots or raised planters, you replicate the same composting action in miniature. It not only boosts growth, but also maintains soil fertility season after season without total replacement. Why living compost beds are the future of sustainable gardening. This approach isn't just efficient, it's regenerative. You're building a system that heals the soil instead of depleting it. Over time, you'll see deeper root growth, fewer pests, and plants that resist drought naturally. You're not feeding plants, you're feeding the soil life that feeds the plants the way nature intended. So, whether you're managing a large homestead or a small backyard plot, this method will transform how you see composting forever. Stop exporting fertility to a bin and start composting where it matters, right where your crops live and breathe. If you found this guide valuable and want to learn more hands-on soil building techniques, make sure to subscribe to Hydro Haven, like this video, and share it with fellow gardeners. Let's keep growing smarter, more self-sustaining gardens, one living bed at a time.